Hello, Moni.
Hello, Lenny.
So it is our time. Another beautiful day in UK. Sunny, believe or not. So it's very good.
Very
So
nice. Yeah.
let's start with a quick prayer. Master Jesus, spiritual friends, together we are around this study, bringing us joy to understand a bit better about mediumship and how we can practice charity using this marvelous tool we have been given by Kardec. Be with us through this study today and always. So be it.
So be.
Let me share the book. I believe you can see now.
Nope. Yes.
Okay. We are continuing the topic about meetings and societies. Today we start on the item 337. If a meeting is going badly, they will ask, don't sensible and well-intentioned individuals have the right to criticize? And if they ignore the problem without saying anything, aren't they approving it through their silence? I think it's a human thing, have this thought. Are we prepared to receive critics? Can anyone criticize us? Of course, they can criticize us. The burden is on us to be prepared or not to be criticized, because human beings always like to be right. I believe in particular that a lot of critics have no foundations. Some of the critics coming from guesses. I think, I like, I guess. So this has no foundation. To prepare critics with foundations, we need to understand, study, and even do some experimentations about the subject in vogue. If someone wants to criticize a mediumship meeting, it's fine. My first question will be, do you participate on mediumship meetings? Okay? How many times a week do you participate on mediumship meetings? Okay? Can you describe the type of meeting you do participate? With those three questions, that will allow us to understand where the critics are coming from. Because every meeting is different. Every organization is different. And only in having this information in hand, we are able to evaluate if the critics are positive or it's just a guesswork, But this is something that we encounter through a path on the Spiritist Center, on a work environment, even at home. This is something that is very common in our day-to-day thing. And this should not be something we need to take on board to stop what we are doing. I would say that yes, let's take the critics on board, let's evaluate, analyze, and if after you do the thorough analysis of this critics is something that, yes, I can improve on that subject. So that was a positive critic, you know? But most of the time, critics are not that positive. Of course, they have such a right. It is even a duty. But if their intentions are truly good, they will issue their warnings appropriately, and kindly, and will do so openly and without any subterfuge. If they are not listened to, they will withdraw, because it is inconceivable that anyone who is not acting with ulterior motives would persist in remaining in a society whose orientation was not appropriate for them. And this is very important here. Appropriate for them. So perhaps what is good for me is not good for you. Perhaps when you are join a circle, a meeting, a gathering, you are with your own expectations. And after a period of time, when you realize that, that's not what I'm looking for, it's very natural to you to try to find a place where you feel fit. We can thus establish, in principle, that anyone in a spiritist meeting who causes disorder or disharmony, either ostensibly or secretly, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Do you think that happened? Do you guys think this kind of thing happened? Someone that come to a group and start to create disharmony? More than we think. More than we think. Needless to say that we are all ill in a spiritist center. Ill in the sense that our spirit is not perfect. So we all have problems. So there isn't a single person on the spiritist center that is perfect. But a group can establish some resonance and start to work well together. And sometimes a person that comes from nowhere, join the group, is welcome to the group, but after a period of time, you start to disseminate things that are not positive. I'm not saying not to accept new people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that this is something that can happen. And if it's happening, we can always. Just a minute, guys. No, it's not here. I don't know. So I think I know where it comes from. So yeah. So if we receive someone in our group, in our meetings, and we identify that the person is bringing some thoughts that are not in line with what we do, what we want, we can always try to speak to the person. We can always try to show to the person that her or his way of seeing things is not the only one. And after all, if the person is not really fitting in the group, what can we do, right? Through any means, is an adversarial agent, or at least an evil spirit who must be gotten rid of as soon as possible. Well, we have two cases here. Someone that's coming really, really to create harm, and someone that does not have this objective, has just a different point of view or opinion, and we would endeavor to bring it closer. But someone that clearly came to a group trying to create a disarray is not easy to handle because he's not prepared to leave either. The objective is to create harm. And then if the people that are in front of that gathering or that meeting do not realize that in time, the consequences could be losses for the group. Because what's going to happen? We have 10 people here, very, very familiar one with another, everybody happy, and then one person come, start to bring different ideas, different thoughts, speaking about people, speaking about the organization, what should we do? And we may start to have a kind of atmosphere that more people will join this kind of atmosphere and start to create problems that we don't need to go through it here, right? But this is something that happens more often than we think. We need to be attentive. Nonetheless, the very commitment which links the members of a meeting together creates obstacle to doing so, which is why it is proper to avoid indissoluble commitments. Some words are not easy. Moral individuals always connect with one another in an appropriate way, whereas bad intention ones always do it to excess. I'm not sure about this one. If the group is not attentive enough, there is no such a thing, in my opinion, as a group that will not fall. And things like that may start with pride, someone boosting someone else's pride, someone wanting to be the leader of the group, someone want to, it could be anything, it could be really anything. It's very difficult. Hi, Charles. Charles, you're mute.
Now?
Yeah, can
Okay.
hear.
Yes, sorry for hello, sorry for arriving late. I rediscovered this sentence of Kardec, which is absolutely outstanding, because a lot of times we do bylaws, we impose some rules, we put define some terms that everybody is assigning and agreeing, and this and that. It does not bring any security at all. And at the end, when you think about it, it is useless. And what he's saying here is absolutely outstanding, explaining why this. Because the good persons don't need such stuff to be engaged. And the wrong person, they have signed it, they will use that as an argument to mess your stuff up. I think it's absolutely, because I lived this so many times in the Spiritist movement that nowadays I think the more simple it is, the best. Federations, all this for me is useless. It's better to have working groups with clearly working projects. And there you can see the people who are interested to work or not. Are you interested to work? Okay, welcome. You want to discuss, to negotiate, to this, to that? You can go do this wherever you want. Here we are working, full stop.
You remind me one thing, Charles. Normally, these Spiritist centers, they do have some guidelines. I don't know how to say that in English, but it's a written piece of paper that establishes
bylaws.
Bylaws, yes, bylaws. And one day someone came, oh, we need to update this one. He's only working for 70 years, but yeah, everything can be improved. We need to change here, we need to change there. So, well, do you mind telling me exactly what is your objective here? Because something that's working, you don't need to read, we don't need to know that by heart. It's just some paperwork that by the law we need to have, and that's it. So why you want to change that? And the person was not very happy, because things like that, when someone's trying to promote changes like that, I always get a bit skeptical because why? this is not really affecting anything we do here. No, the hand's work does not depend on what is written on a piece of paper, you know. So, yeah, funny. Beside notorious malevolent persons who infiltrate meetings, there are those who, because of their very temperament, bring trouble whenever they go. There's one thing that is not a rule. Of course, there are so many cases. But when you see a person moving too much, A, B, C, D, E, F places, I kind of, why is this person moving that much? It's like an employee in a company, you know? The employee only stays a year on every company. So he worked already for 100 different companies in his time life. Like, there's something a bit strange here. Could be for good reasons. The person moves from place to place constantly. But also could be that the person does not fit anywhere. And probably is leaving that gathering, that group, that meeting, complaining about that group or that meeting. Where is the problem? Is with those 10 different groups or with the person? Could be both, right? But this is the type of thing I'm always, let's pay attention here. Thus, too much care cannot be taken in admitting new members. The most harmful in this case are not those who are ignorant but about the subject or even those who are disbelievers. Conviction can only be acquired through experience. And there are well-intentioned persons who want to learn. Rather, those who should most particularly be cautioned against are persons given to preconceived ideas, the theoretical disbelievers who question everything, even the obvious, and the proud who pretend to be privileged with the truth and always try to impose their opinions while disdain whoever does not think as they do. Do not be fooled by the pretended desire to learn. You will encounter many who would feel displeased if they were obligated to agree that they had been wrong. Ooh, we all are a bit like that, huh? We don't like to be wrong. Above all, guard yourselves against those insipid talkers who always want the last word, and those who only like to argue. They are both a waste of time and are of no use even to themselves. Spirits do not like idle words. Sometimes it's better not to argue at all. Okay, you think like that, I'm thinking like that. Let's move on. Only when, for example, we are here in a Spiritist meeting. If somebody tries to push something that is not related to the Spiritism, I'm sorry, I'll have to intervene, because here we are doing Spiritism, right? But if it's something that is not creating any harm, why should I start an argument with the person? You know, that's not really a point. And something that I'm always very cautious is that a good idea may not be that good. When you have an established group. Hi, Roger. Go
on. I'm just thinking. I'm wondering. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can think of one person in the world at the moment who seems to fit this particular logic extremely well, and I don't think I even need to mention the name. But you might be fooled into thinking he was a duck.
Yeah. We see that from time to time, isn't it, Roger?
So, but it just seems, everything here just seems to fit so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree with you. So we need to always be careful with. Hi, Camille.
I would say always has a person that it bring a disturbance, right? In any group, in the work, in the church, in the school, always need to have this individual. Like, but I also think that is not in purpose, right? It's not a challenge that we need to learn to how to deal or how change the person. I don't know, right? Has not a reason for that.
Let me paint a picture here. We're going to prepare an orange juice. We're going to use 8 oranges. 1 orange is not good anymore. What is going to happen with the juice? We all know. So it's not because the person does not have the intention that will not create the harm. Sometimes they're all problems. And I'm seeing problems. I'm going to give one example. Pride, for example. Vanity, another one. They try to impose, without being perceived as imposing, what they want. And then, here we go, my orange juice to the bin. So we need to be attentive. There are limits to everything. If we perceive that something can be destroyed by someone that's not attentive enough, do you want to let this thing finish, be destroyed, lose its purpose? I don't think so. So it's a narrow line between what to accept and what not to accept. And sometimes it's not easy to identify that. The person that is coming create that kind of situation could be doing because he or she want to do it, is her or his modus operandi, or could be under influence of spirits who also want that to happen. So it's very wide, the number of possibilities, and there is no formula to prevent that to happen. Quite often, we only learn after we have losses, and then we become more attentive. Hi, Priscilla.
Hi, guys. I just want to say really quickly, I get what Camila is coming from. I used to be very much like her, thinking we have to give a chance to everybody and we have to patiently work and all, until one group that I participate, somebody came and it was over the top. There's nothing you can say or do that will make the person stop what they're doing, the destruction. So I think, Camila, you didn't met one of those yet, because it got to the point the group was dismissed. The whole entire group was overend because of one person that just came to disrupt. It's really sad, but it happens like that. I saw in my group and was horrible to see what the person done. Everybody fought, create so much disruption. So yeah.
I never had an opportunity to be, thankfully, I never have an opportunity to see a group being destroyed because of a person, but I know it can happen. But I've seen inside the Spirit Center some activities being finished, closed, losing people to the extent that affected what we used to do, because we are human beings. And human beings, if they were not morally imperfect, they wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. So we all have defaults, right? And I can give many examples of how things like that can happen, but I think we all through our lives, we've seen this kind of thing happening, not on the Spirit Center, but in our own lives, in the family, in the work, on the streets. We are humans. We just need to be attentive. And do we need to be very rigid? No, I'm not saying to be rigid, but we need to be attentive. We need to have a clear north. We know what we want, we know what we do, we know where we want to go. This is our north. If we see something coming that's trying to make the north a bit further away or disrupt what you have done so far to go to north, evaluate, analyze. You know, it happens face to face, it happens virtually, it can happen anywhere. How to prevent that to happen? I'm afraid we can't, because it's part of our learning curve. We will be seeing this kind of scenario over and over. That's why we are here on Earth, to learn. But when it happens once, next time when it starts to happen again, you'll be more attentive. I was going to use here an example in a Spirit Center that I was part of. I'm still part of them, but now remotely. And we had an event where a couple brought a lot of disruption to the Spirit Center. Everybody trying to help, everybody trying to calm down things. Didn't work. Create a lot of harm, because there's always a group that try to vote for A, a group that try to vote for B, and we're trying to minimize the effects. We end up losing the couple and few extra bodies with them. Fair enough. There was an impact, there was a hit. Something like a year and a half later, exactly the same thing start to happen. Same modus operandi, but with different people. There was a different couple. Start to doing exactly the same thing. At that time, some of the members of the group, we need to talk. It is happening again. We can see exactly the same step by step. We need to intervene now before it's late, before it's too late. And then we did. We only lost a couple. We haven't lost more members of the group. Some time later, and I don't remember anymore, but a year or two later, same thing again. We went directly to the couple that was involved. Are you sure is that what you want to do? Having you learned with this event, are you not capable to understand that it's also boosted by the spiritual world that don't want you to be here and want to create harm? We were able to stop what was happening. No losses. So it's part of a learning curve, you see, but we have to be attentive. There's no right or wrong. It's an experience you acquire through the practice. Sometimes we trip and fall, but we stand up again. You move on. You don't run when it's wet, with the chance to go to the ground is higher. You learn that because it happens yesterday. You know, so things like that will happen. And I hope the people that have more experience in those groups are able to perceive without judgment. It's not to judge, it's to perceive what is happening and act before it's late. So it's a lesson to learn. I also did.
First, good morning. First, I apologize. I came late today. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't want. We had a long time, 5 years ago or more, when our center was Leonini wasn't online, and I remember we had one person, and she was it was a person who was very strong personality, so but would like to change many things, but it wasn't possible because first she came very later after we had a long time our center, and another was to talk always a high voice, and what we did, we decided to be to pay for us, for her, every time, always. It was a compromise. We had to do this. She changes because it was so a strong contrast between how we were so calm and study and pray and our song, but and then when I think this person myself changed because she notes that it was so a strong difference between and the pray, of course, because when we pray with our heart, we believe. So I would like this one because yes, I agree with you, Guilherme. We don't need to only say, no, you can't. No. We wait. When our research to go, though we can say, yes, my friend, you can't to continue here. So.
Very good. Very good. Let me speak a bit about changes. Changes are very good. But what do you mean changes are very good? It's not contradictory of what you just said. No, it's not. Changes are very good, providing we have a clear north, a clear path. Changes that are coming to add, to increase our capabilities, to make what we do better is one thing. Changes that are coming to disrupt, then it's something else. So we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a change today. Today, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a change a few years ago. So the result was positive. Tomorrow, we'll have another change that can be very positive too. The art of identifying what is good, what is not, is the key. Don't make the decision by yourself. Let's have the group evaluating what's happening. Let's project the consequence, bad or good. And then perhaps the suggestion is very good. The idea is very good. And then let's change. Change for better. All right. So, above all, guard yourselves against those insipid who takes. Oh, I read that already. So, in light of the need to avoid every cause of trouble and distraction, when a spiritist society is organized, it should place all its intention on establishing appropriate measures to keep troublemakers from doing any harm and to facilitate their living by any means possible. I don't know how to create a structure to do that. I don't know. What I know is I'll be surrounded by people that we think alike. We like the same things. We have the same objectives. I wouldn't start a group or a study or a leadership meeting with people that have antagonic point of views. I wouldn't. What we do nowadays, for example, in our virtual meetings, we are bringing people that sometimes they are not even believers, as Kardec said here before. But we are bringing them so they can see what we do, how it works, to come to their own conclusion if it's real or not real. That's something else. A lot of people try to remain in the little world. I always did like that. I always will do like that. Thankfully, had someone that was not like that, Kardec. He did something totally different, and he brought that to us. So, again, we need to use something that's very difficult, common sense. And my common sense is different than yours. But if we are good people, we can achieve some ground rules, and then we can create something that will be positive. Smaller groups need very simple disciplinary rules for determining the order of their sessions. Regularly constituted societies require a more complete organization, and the best would be the least complicated system. Either type would be able to derive what is applicable or necessary from the regulations of the Parisian Society of Spiritist Study, which we present below. When Charles was speaking about let's do something simple, simple rules are the best one, I totally agree. To do charity, we don't need to have to read 40 pages of blah, blah, blah. Let's just do it. To create a mediumship meeting or a spiritist center, for example, we don't need to have rules like other philosophies or religion or gatherings do. Sometimes we try to recreate on the Spiritism what we liked or what we knew from where we came from. We do not need a pope. We do not need bishops. I have nothing against them, nothing at all. I'm just using as an example. We need things that are simple. Do you want to work? Let's work. That's all that matters. Harmonia.
Hi, Guilherme. Good morning, everyone. Guilherme, in my view, I think it's sort of simple to establish, when you establish a group, to stick to Kardec's, books and what is said there, including this part, So you say we have to be 100% aligned with Spiritist doctrine, Spiritism all the time and full stop. So based on that, we can see every case, what would be advised by Kardec or by the spirits to do in order to keep the society. It's natural that some people will come with new ideas, but you have to keep that within a reasonable way of discussing, getting to a conclusion, making decisions. And then if the personality stands out, then I think the person is not fitted for the purpose of the group. We can also base ourselves on what is said about mediums. Mediums to be, safe. They have to share every communication they receive in order to get the opinion from other people. And if you don't accept what other people have to say about the message you receive, well, you should be careful, because you may not fit in that group, but also open a wide door for obsession. So the same thing applies here, in my view. I mean,
I agree with you, totally. Totally. When we want to do something, and when we start to see people, well, we need to be prepared. We need to plan. Well, yes. We need to study for 3 years. We need to do something like that. So, no, not for me. Not for me, because I know what's going to happen. It's someone trying to create a massive structure, rules, positions, and on the end of the day, the objective is not really to work. When I mean work, perform charity, perform the activity. It's more like to create a structure where he or she will please him or herself in the top of it, something like that. I don't have time for that. Really don't.
Yes, because sometimes the impression we have is that the more we do, the further away we are from the objective, of working and serving. Somewhere halfway through it, you say, where am I going? What have I been doing? You've been working a lot, doing a lot, but you don't get where you expect to get. And yes, yeah. For some people, it's fine. Some people, that's what they want, to keep on studying and joining this class this year, that class next. But for some people, they just want to, to make good use of the resources they have in mediumship or whatever.
Something that came to my mind as well is that sometimes we are clearly able to identify someone that's not very positive. So when I do identify something like that, I keep my distance. Well, let's work together. No. But no, I don't want to. Because I know what is coming. I can see what is happening on the sidelines. I can see that why I'm going to entertain something that 80% of chance that will work badly on the end, so we have so many things to do, so many opportunities to help others. Why you want to create trouble, It's better not. Small or large societies and all meetings, no matter how important they are, must struggle against a further problem. Troublemakers are not only found amongst their members, but also in the visible world. Tell me what you like, what you do, and I'll be able to tell what kind of spirits are around you. And vice versa. If you are a troublemaker, you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. And sometimes for the person that is a bit sensitive, only your presence in that area is enough to, whoa, there's something wrong here. I'm not saying that's only that, because it could be someone from our past too that we don't like, could be many reasons, many things, but we need to be attentive. And just as there are protective spirits for institutions, cities, and nations, malfeasant spirits also connect to groups and individuals. I can make a list of good workers, well known, that started doing something very good, very well, and they derived. So we all can do the same. If we start to be too arrogant, if we start to allow our pride to become that big, we can derive. We are doing this study here for 4 years or something. Maybe in too much time will be finished because somebody start to be so proud about himself or herself and start to create harm. And then suddenly 3 people are, I don't want to waste my time with that. They leave. We may end up only by ourselves here. So things may degrade depending on ourselves. So we need to be attentive today and always. Because today things may are working well. Tomorrow we don't know. We have to be always evaluating ourselves to identify if what we do or what we are doing is still okay. It's very fine if we go down, but we have to realize, well, something's happening. I need to return to where I was. I'm not happy with what I became. So I need to revisit my principles. I need to revisit what I do. That's very positive. What is not okay is that we go down and we take everybody with us. Because then we become responsible for that. First, they connect with the weakest and most accessible, trying to transform them into their instruments and gradually involving everybody, but their malignant joy as great as the number of those they have subjugated. Remember what I said about the orange? The same thing here. When we realize we are all contaminated. How to prevent that? 100%, there's no formula. How to mitigate that? Yes. Then we have things we can do. 1, study Kardec, because today is a prime example. He's highlighting to us things that can go wrong and why can go wrong. We need to be humble to evaluate ourselves all the time. We need to be attentive to evaluate the results of what we are doing. Without trying to judge anything, we need to be attentive about our colleagues too. And we need, again, to be humble. If someone comes to you and say, I think you're doing something that's not normal, or you're doing something that's not positive. I'll paint an example here. I start to deviate, I start to do things that are not correct or okay. Munir will come to me, damn, well, I think you need to slow down. See what you're doing. This is not okay. Regardless that I'm not happy what he's saying, because that's human. You know, we always want to be right. Stop, listen, evaluate. And again, Munir, help me out. I still don't see that. Help me out. Why you can see that and I can't? We need to have that kind of group where we can rely on the others, because we are not perfect. It can happen to everyone. But if we are in a group where we can trust our group, our colleagues, our friends, they're not going to say something to harm you. They may be wrong, but listen. Don't close the doors and say, I'll leave. Because it happens too often. The person is not happy because being brought to the attention that he's not doing something very good. Oh, well, I'm too good for this place. See you guys, I'm leaving. And then goes to another place, to another place, to another place. Let's accept other people's comments. Let's evaluate. And perhaps you could be right, or the person could be right, but there's only one way to know. Having an open conversation and analyze over a period of time the results of what you're doing. Thus, every time a group member has fallen into the trap, it means that there is an enemy about, a wolf in the fold. And great cautious must be taken because it is quite probable that it will increase its attempt. I particularly don't believe that ever goes away. Maybe that spirit or that group of spirits go away, but another one will come. That's part of the learning process. Guys, we all did very bad things in the past. Atrocities even. We left behind lots of enemies. All of us. Now that we are trying to do something a bit better, we may have our own enemies, and we have the enemies of the light, if I may say like that. They will do whatever they can to stop us. We can fall. We can fall. And for this, there is a formula we can use. I don't like to say formulas on the Spiritism because it's not right, but we have something we can do to prevent that to happen. Do you guys have any idea what it is? I guess not. Nobody's saying anything.
Love your enemies.
On those lines, do charity, perform good to everyone, work in His name. And when you do that, you start to be surrounded by good spirits. That's not a shield that will protect everything, because few things needs to come through us so we can learn, but that will create a shield protection. Likewise, if you do everything wrong, you'll be surrounded by bad spirits, poor spirits, ignorant spirits, and then the good ones cannot get closer. So we need to decide what kind of shield we want. And I like to say that quite often. We do have the power to define what kind of spiritual environment we want to have. We have this power. All of us, we have. So we define which kind of spirits are with us. If such a member is not discouraged through strong resistance, obsession will spread like contagious. Guys, this is not just a book. This is not just a passage in the book. It happens. As I gave example here before today, it does happen. It's real. It's real. If we are not attentive enough, we fall. So let's study. That's why I always recommend mediums, spiritists, study obsession. And a lot of spiritists, they have fear. They don't like to read books about obsession because they have fear. How would you know something is happening if you don't have at least the theory? You need to have at least the theory. There are books that are heavy, and there are books that bring the same kind of knowledge in a mild way, with examples. Filomeno de Miranda, for example, is a perfect example. Brings information. He describes mildly how things can happen. He gives examples. So when we are in front of situations that are real, we are able to see a bit better that something is not right. And then we can ask for help. But trying not to have that kind of knowledge, maybe something you miss one day. if such a member is not discouraged through if such a member is not discouraged through strong resistance, obsession will spread like a contagious, which will appear among the mediums through a disturbance of the mediumship and among the others through mutual hostility, moral perversion, and destruction of harmony. And I will tell you one thing here too. If you see an obsession, or if you see someone really under that level of influence, the person is a medium. Period. He's a medium. If the person did not have that degree of sensibility, would not feel that influence that strong. All the obsession cases that came to our spirit center, they were really an obsession case. Because a lot of people say obsession is no obsession. A lot of people think it's obsession. There's nothing about obsession at all. But a true obsession case, when they came to us, the person was a medium. And do you know why most of the cases came like that to the Spirit Center? There was a wake-up call for the person. Because when we asked the benefactors, how can we help? Well, he's a medium. He needs to start to work. We can do things to mitigate here, to help a bit, but if he or she does not start to work, develop the mediumship, it's going to happen again. 9 out of 10 cases are like that. Oh, it's my time. Who is there? Oh, Pablo is there. Pablo, we'll wrap up here. And I'll leave the audience for you. Pablo?
I'm opening my mic.
Oh, okay.
So, my friend, as we do every Saturday at this time, let's unite our minds, our thoughts, our hearts, as we know that thought is action, and the world right now is in so much need of action. So let's picture our brothers and sisters who are in need, who are suffering for all sorts of reasons. Our brothers and sisters that are hungry, our brothers and sisters that are caught in war zones, that are separated from their loved ones. Let's ask our Father to shed light, to envelop them in a warm embrace, and with that, they can be reminded that there is hope always, and that evil is not everlasting. So hand in hand, let's help the ones in need, donating our good thoughts, vibrations, asking our Father for this world to be covered in love, in peace, in harmony, in hope. May it be soothing, healing, reassuring. Master, we thank you for allowing us to be here today, learning and doing charity. We ask your permission to close our session today. May we have a blessed Saturday, a blessed weekend, and a blessed week ahead. So be it.
So be it. Thank you.
See you all next week, and let's
See you
enjoy the
guys.
sun.